for the government to lend to mining and coal companies if the big banks won't. Ebony Bennett, Deputy Director of the Australian Institute, is standing by for more on this. Ebony, lovely to see you as always.
Thanks for having me.
Ebony, what are the finer details on this?
Well, Minister Keith Pitt has virtually issued a ransom demand for taxpayers to foot a $250 billion bill as a loan facility for the mining sector as part of negotiations around reach a net zero emissions by 2050 target ahead of Glasgow. And I think what we can see from this is that any commitment to net zero by 2050 from the Morrison government is going to be a fraud if at the same time the government's still looking to expand gas and coal mining and exports in Australia. But the other concerning thing here, I think, is just the terrible ideas of the National Party. Why should taxpayers be forced to foot the bill of $250 billion loan for dud investments that the banking sector won't touch? You and I both know if the banking sector won't loan to a project, generally speaking, it's because it's a dud investment. So I think what Australian taxpayers really need is to stop picking losers and start backing some winners. $250 billion, just think what we could do for the Australian economy and accelerating the clean energy transition if the clean energy finance that kind of money to loan to new clean energy projects. That would certainly fuel a very fast transition.
Ebony, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. There are increasing concerns and increasing pressure for the world to move away from coal. We know that in the lead up to COP26. But we are seeing that when big countries, for example China, are trying to move away from coal, that it is leading to a flow-on impact down the chain, and it's causing a global energy crunch. So it feels like there isn't a plan there, essentially, to be able to move away from coal, because when we are moving away from coal, it feels like the world is sort of crumbling without it. So is there the right process and plan in place to be able to survive without coal?
Absolutely. I don't have all the answers yet, but a lot of them right now. So China is obviously a huge country and it's got an enormous population and got a very different else in if it wants to reduce its emissions, it can virtually just shut off in it to try. It's got a lot of control over its industry. But China also is making investments in clean energy. We know that renewables, solar, wind, hydro, all of those types of projects are available right now and ready to implement. I think the problems that we're seeing in China is that they're moving before they've put in place the infrastructure that will be able to replace it. So globally, we know a lot of countries are moving very fast to decarbonise their economies. And we know that here in Australia, renewable energy has been a massive success story. It's not only reducing downward pressure on household energy bills, but helping to reduce pollution at the same time. And it's the cheapest form of new energy to build. What we need is massive investment in clean technology right now to help pick up the slack as coal power and gas-fired power stations begin to retire over the next 10 to 20 years. We have to do that as quickly as possible. But we have to make sure, obviously, as you've said, that we've got the other clean tech place, a smooth transition. We're certainly not doing it as fast as we should in Australia, but China is doing actually a really world-leading job in trying to make that transition. It also it's going to stop financing coal energy projects internationally. And I think what we can see here in Australia is that Keith Pitt is single-handedly perhaps trying to fill that investment hole that China is going to leave. So there's no way that the world isn't moving away from coal-fired power and gas-fired power, but we do need to make it a smooth transition. That's absolutely correct.
Ebony, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. There are calls for a royal commission into Facebook in the wake of harm revelations. What's the details here?
Yeah, a whistleblower from Facebook has appeared before the US Senate and given details that Facebook knew internally about harm and damage that it was doing to the public and did not disclose that harm, but essentially, tried to cover it up and did nothing about it to protect its profits. So it knows that Instagram does enormous harm to teenage girls. It knows that Facebook is disinformation basically on behalf of despots and drug cartels, and that its news algorithm is promoting and stoking division in the community and undermining democracy. So the Australia Institute Centre for Responsible Technology really, the Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce's call this morning, that there needs to be a high-level review into Facebook and the damage that it's doing to public health and to the community. And the Centre for Responsible Technology is calling for a royal commission into Facebook. It's very opaque. It's not transparent. It's hiding things from the public, removing itself from scrutiny. And we know in Australia there's something like, I think, 15 million Facebook users, 1 million Instagram users. So we're talking about technology and a platform that's in every household in Australia, basically. So this is a huge public health concern, and it's something that, it's clear that these big tech platforms really need scrutiny, tighter regulation.
Ebony, we do have to wrap things up. I just wanted to get your thoughts really quickly. What are your thoughts? KYLIE Minogue, superstar returns to Aussie soil. How excited are you?
Yeah, look, as a lady, I was delighted. I think I first made up dances to KYLIE Minogue. That was the first tape I ever had when I was a kid. Some of you younger viewers might be wondering what a tape is, but for olders like me, this is amazing news, and hopefully really good news for Melbourne that's had a really tough year to have KYLIE Minogue coming home. So great news. We should all be so lucky. I can't wait till she gets here.
Oh my gosh, this news has made my year. Ebony, lovely to see you as always. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you.
The bottom 20% get nothing. They're really unfair tax cuts.
People want to see much stronger action from the government when it comes to climate change.
It's no coincidence that we have a wages crisis in Australia.
Transitioning to net zero emissions, it doesn't seem like there's much room for gas.